Overcast, the podcast beyond World of Warcraft.
How's it going, everybody? And welcome to the last episode of the first season of MoCast. It's been a ride. We talk with all sorts of people, and obviously you read the title, and I know you have some questions. I know you want to find out what the fuck is going on. So today, I want to welcome officially Marcelian, our last guest of the season.
Yes, if anybody has any questions, I am Flame's father, and we will talk about our relationship on this podcast.
Let me just do my tea, man.
No, it's joking. We joke, okay? We joke. Well,
right.
we decided to do, this podcast in a season-y way with 15 episodes, and the last 2 episodes would be with us. Because a lot of the other guests that were scheduled that we talked to, we didn't really have the time because of the whole Shadowlands thing. And we said, hey, man.
It's a busy time for everybody.
What better way would it be to end it with us too? Because I know there was, on the multiple, the 14 shows so far, a lot of people from here and there asked, hey, but what about you guys? When are you guys going to join a podcast and talk about yourselves? So
Indeed.
fuck it.
That's what's going to happen today, guys. I have a couple of things that... I know most of the things that Marceline might say here. Maybe not. I would like to be surprised, so we'll see. But I know there are a couple of juicy bits that you guys will be interested in. So let's dive in. And in tradition with our normal MoCast podcast, because I think I remember you didn't actually touch on this subject. But let's talk a little bit WoW. So
let's go, baby.
You may or may not know that Marcelian's main and biggest love is paladin, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I know for a fact that Marcelian started playing WoW in TBC. I don't know exactly when in TBC.
Close to the end.
Close to the end. Then he had a Blood Elf Paladin, and then he switched to Alliance, and the rest is history. But hey, man, I'm curious. Like, why Paladin? Why Paladin as from the plethora of classes?
Yeah, you know how it is, man. Like the first time when you look at making a character, and you I don't know if it's still a thing now. I don't think it is, but in those days when you looked at making a class and stuff, you read like what it can do or whatever.
Yeah.
And the Paladin class was like, so I was reading through the DPS and healers and whatever, but when I stopped to Paladin, it was like, okay, this thing can, do damage, can tank, and can also heal. It's like, well, shit, I can do everything, right? And so I can cover any spots. Plus, it was something about, I don't know, saving others or, empowering others or something like that. There was always something for me in that regard. So, I just said, fuck it, because the first time I played WoW was actually like during the release of WoW, we had a cracked version of it that was not online, right? So you just explore the world. And the first thing I did then was a druid, like a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't fall in love with the class like I fell with the paladin. So it was basically, yeah, man, paladin can do whatever. Little did I know, it was avoided.
Red and vanilla. What? No.
No, even in TBC, man, like I lived through the days where I was walking through Storming on my red and people will just, slash spit, paladin, get a real class, lol, what is that, so I lived through that and I loved it. That became more, I don't know, more of a passion for me because it was always an underdog.
All right. Well, how was it in arenas in TBC? Because I know you were playing a lot of PvP.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? It took me a whole lot to level just because all the friends that would play, they always talk to me about, hey man, just level up already so we can play this thing called arenas, right? Because I didn't experience raiding or PvE at all, basically, apart from questing and stuff. It was more, all of my friends were on Ravencrest and Sylvanas, which were like one of the biggest PvP servers at the time in EU. And all of them were super big into arenas because that was the new shit that BC introduced. Right? It was like the new instance PvP. And Red in arenas, I played not too much because, again, it was sort of at the end of TBC, so I was moving more towards Lich King when I really started playing arenas on the Red. In TBC, it was more of the version that you would expect in Red, which was pretty decent, apart from not having a kick. It was the...
Imagine that. Imagine not having a kick.
Man, dude, it was like... I was lucky because I played with a lot of good people. Like during those times, in the same group and guilds. There were people like Joe Fernandez, there was Hydra over there. People that now are really popular, right? And stuck to the PvP side of things. And I was lucky to be part of that crowd because that group of people were super skilled. And I got carried a lot because I went into an arena, man, with a one-hander and a shield as a red. I was that fucked up because I didn't know, right? I didn't know. But when I learned, it became really frustrating because that, having, dispelling your wings and spell stealing it, not having a kick, man, Paladin was pretty shit, mostly. So
I still cannot get over the fact that then can have your wings dispelled, your bubble dispelled.
Yeah, well, bubble was always dispellable, but the biggest frustration was when you were playing in arenas and you would fight frost mages or mages in general, and they will spell steal it. They will get your damage buff, your only damage buff. They will steal it. You were like naked. It was like somebody just stripping you off, and you're right there, being all naked and stuff.
Flashy, yeah, streaking.
It was frustrating.
So it was streaking, basically. That's why.
And you didn't have an interrupt. Red didn't have a kick. So that was a big problem. All other melees had some sort of interrupt, right? Red didn't have it. I think we got it in Lich King pretty late on, if I'm not mistaken. Either in Lich King pre-patch to Kata or a little bit sooner, but it was really late. We didn't have that. It was mega frustrating, man. And it's like all other melee specs had it, we did not. And mobility, I mean, it's still...
No pony back then, people. Remember, no pony.
No pony. Yeah, so there was, but still, I don't know, something about it. It had huge burst. So when you actually did connect, so like playing against other melees and stuff, if people didn't know how to kite you and deal with you, you would be insane. But a glass cannon, right? So you would die fast.
You wouldn't think that from a plate wearing.
No. It was
Crusader.
Pretty squishy. Like everybody, there's a red. Go on red.
No,
But that's coming from the days when triple DPS was a thing. We can actually do well as triple DPS, and playing hybrids like red druids was pretty good. Shamans, it was. I know we got to 2K as triple DPS. DK, paladin, and rogue was pretty good.
With a DK, I would never have thought.
Yeah,
especially in Wrath, right?
That was no. This was in Kata actually. This was in Kata.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Okay. I see how it is.
Yeah. But it was, it was fun. It was fun, and this is why I love Feral currently, because it feels such an underdog. I love it.
Yeah, it was surprised to hear you not want to main
Paladin. Shut up, because you want to play Paladin. Don't give me that bullshit, man.
They don't know yet. It's fine. Don't spoil it. But yeah, this is basically a little bit of the WoW. I mean, you guys have been following us for a while. You might know a little bit more about WoW history, and we also usually talk about it on stream pretty much all the time, especially later tonight. But that aside, I do want to get a little bit more into the outside of WoW, because, everybody has a WoW history, everybody has their WoW things. Like, okay, it kind of goes along a similar pattern. It's like, when I started, I was a noob, I became better, I found what I like to do.
It's kind of the same story.
It's kind of the same story. I mean, it has its own details. But what I'm really interested in, and what some of you may already know, is that Marcelian loves rap music.
Rap music. Let's call it hip hop, baby.
let's call it hip hop. Oh, right. Jesus, see, that's how uncultured I am. And I actually learned a lot from him about hip hop and about rap in general. But what I was curious, like, because I never asked you this, how did it all start? When did you know, like, oh, I like this. This is my shit.
Oh, that's that's a good one. Well, there was two instances. Like when I was like super young, I think it was 94. So I had my pops, rest in peace. He used to work in the States, and in 94 we went there, and it was the first time I saw MTV, because in Romania it didn't come yet, right? 93, 94. So I saw MTV Raps, MTV Raps. There was the hip hop dedicated show. And over there, I saw Run DMC, and the track was called Down with the King. I have it in the playlist too, like my hip hop playlist. I think you listened to it. And I just, wow, what is this? I never heard anything like this. Like, we're coming from a post-communist country. There was not, in 94, nothing really sounded. You knew about Vanilla Ice or, I don't know, MC Hammer and shit. but Run DMC, that track was so raw, and the beat was so abrasive and fat, and the lyrics, man, was so good, and the hooks was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And then I went to my pops like, hey dad, can you buy me a cassette with these guys, Run DMC? And sure enough, I went with my dad the next day to a store, and it was the first hip hop tape I got was Run DMC Tougher Than Leather. It was like an older album. It was not that one with the track. That was the first thing. And the second was my sister, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, my sister is 9 years older than me. And she was like, in her teens. And at some point, I know I was a big fan of Michael Jackson, still am. But she was always dancing in the house and listening to all of these hip-hop jams, like in 96, 97, things like LL Cool J, Wu-Tang, Blackstreet, Dr. Dre. Oh, but that was all the shit. Tupac was really popular back then. And I asked her, like, what do you call this? What is this? Why you dancing to this? And she told me, dude, this is hip hop. This is the new thing. You gotta love this. And that just stuck with me. It just that activated the previous trigger with the Run DMC thing. It's like, oh, so that was hip hop. That Run DMC thing is hip hop. This cassette, I like, sis, I got this cassette. This is hip hop. Oh yeah, that's hip hop. You little stupid fuck. So it's been a love and a passion ever since. It's not only hip hop, but that's like the main thing. Then I started studying it, and what the roots.
Marcelian doesn't just listen to hip hop.
Yeah,
and he did mention Michael Jackson, which is I personally haven't found a bigger fan of Michael Jackson than Marcelian.
Yeah,
like, I always liked him, but I was more like the casual listener. Like, I knew the big hits. And I knew some of the lyrics. I knew about the moonwalk. I kind of knew what happened. And
the moonwalk. You mentioned the moonwalk. The moonwalk was a breakdance move. And Michael saw it on some b-boys.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So a lot of people credit Michael Jackson for the moonwalk, because like he invented it or whatever. He just popularized it. That was a move that was used by the early b-boys, breakdancers, whatever, in mostly in New York. He saw that stuff, while he was going to studios and tours, and thought it was really cool. If you look at Michael Jackson's moves, a lot of the time you're gonna see a lot of pop locking and different forms of breakdance, apart from James Brown moves and Fred Astaire and all of that. And James Brown is also a big founding father of hip hop. I can geek out all day about hip hop, man. Hip hop and Michael Jackson. it's a lot to get into.
Yeah, and I mean, you can definitely tell he was really into hip hop, into MJ, and then he started probably researching and getting into a lot of other music types. And I think it's probably better if you just say the story without me trying to ask the question. But tell me the story of acid.
Dude. Oh boy. So obviously, like every impressionable young, I don't know, fan of hip hop.
Not just the name, like everything, like what you did and stuff like that.
Oh, what do you want? No, okay. You cannot translate that into English. So acid was, still is the stage name I used to have. I started writing rhymes and making beats like early on. Just, I really loved the music, man. And there was sort of a huge wave in the country where the genre was becoming more and more popular. But I really wanted to do something more. This sounds pretentious, I know, but fuck it. I wanted to do something more intellectual. Okay, I really wanted clever rhymes, and then schemes, wordplay and all of that, because that's what I loved. I like listening to shit that would provoke my imagination and thoughts. Like listening to something and always discovering something new. This is like, I think, the power of hip hop. Like, it's not like music per se, it's people talking in a rhythm. But the power is that you use a lot of vocabulary within that rhythm to create something really awesome. So that's what I wanted to do. And acid is the name I put for myself when I was, 13 or 12 years old, something like that. It was my first, within my first rap group. It stood for something. It cannot be translated in English, but I will refuse to do that. But it was, it was basically my style, because apart from trying to do, proper recorded music, I also love to battle, freestyle and stuff. And I thought it was a really good blend, because back in the day when I would battle and go to battle, championships and stuff, I love the name Acid, because it inspired that, oh my God, this guy is really acid, he's gonna melt your ass down and stuff like that. Can you imagine the thought process?
Hey man, my name is Flame. What do you want? Like, how different are those?
So it wasn't, yeah, but I couldn't go to a battle and say, yeah, I'm Marcelian. It doesn't work that way, right? So yeah, that's more or less the story of the asset thing. It was me dabbling into the music industry, more or less.
Oh, you do mention it. I did want to get to this a little bit later, but I guess this is as good a time as any. Where does the name Marcelian come from? When did you decide that this is something that was going to represent you? And what does it mean? Because the first time I heard it was like, oh, Marcel, like the monkey from Friends.
Did I ever tell you the story actually, like offline?
I think you told me that it comes from like two places, but I don't know if you went into details.
So, when I was working in direct sales for a big corporation, me and the boys, we were 5 boys over there, right? And we would dress up, super nice and go to companies and stuff and make contracts for this company. And we were really good at it, right? We were so good that we would finish our target in the first 2 weeks of the month, and even get past that, right? We would exceed all metrics and stuff. So we had 3 weeks in every month that we would get bored out of our minds, staying at the office, not doing shit. And this is a true story. And at some point, one of them said, "Hey guys, let's make up some imaginary friends and have a party."
What?
Yeah, that's so everybody made an imaginary friend, and mine was Marcel. That was the name, Marcelian. Because I don't know, there was something at that time. There was something with the pronunciation of the names that had an Ian. Come to think of it, it rings like Ian has a costas, but in Romanian it makes much more sense. And I wanted the Marcel, but put that thing Ian at the end, right? So because I found Marcel to be a super funny name all the time. I was always talking, "Hey Marcel, what up? You're such a Marcel," right? And I kind of constructed this. So Marcelian was my imaginary friend in those years, and it was close to, or it kind of intersected with the time I started really getting into WoW. And it just made sense. Okay, my first character would be Marcelian, and that's it.
That's the story. That's way better than my story. So it's good. It's good, man.
Can you imagine how bored we was at the time? Like we actually find entertainment in this, like making up imaginary friends and naming them. Oh man.
Well, it's better than what I was doing in my first few jobs, that's for sure. But it's actually a really cool story, man. Like. And I would be proud, very proudly. Obviously, I mean, you can see it like,
of course, it's
everywhere.
It's a proud, but the origins are pretty fucked up. It's like there's nothing there, and a lot of people don't know how to pronounce it still. I know the first guild I was actually in, there was a lot of English folks, and the pronunciation was, "Hey, Marcelian." Hey, and they couldn't pronounce it, or Marceline, or Marceline.
Yeah, I don't know why that's difficult, because it doesn't sound like it'd be hard to be pronounced in English.
I don't know.
I heard Marcelina,
Marcelina.
No.
But everybody called me Marcy, believe it or not, in that guild. Hey, Marcy, what up, Marcy?
Marcelian is such a long name.
I know, it's fine. Do whatever. I have a lot of names.
Oh, Marcelian is a very cultured man with a lot of tastes in music and other things. And one of the other things that I always found it fascinating, because it kind of doesn't really tie into the music, but it's interesting as well, is like his fascination with the mafia genre and history. So if you don't know, Marcelian's like, I think he knows everything there is to know. I'm pretty sure that's kind of how it works.
There's a lot of, I don't know, but yeah, I'm pretty firm about the subject, I would say. I'm pretty confident.
So again, like, how did it all start? Like, what sparked is like, ooh, this is pretty cool. Ooh, they did what in the Prohibition era?
Oh, okay. So the fascination with the mafia. All right, people have a big misunderstanding about the term mafia, whatever. In the States, where basically it all began, like the modern shit. It wasn't really mafia. That's what the media called it. It was like Cosa Nostra, right? Our thing. When it started for me, I think it was due to Michael Jackson, actually.
Oh, really?
Wow. Smooth Criminal. That video really, I mean, that video is made to portray some of that, right? Real, well, Hollywood style, whatever. I think it started with that. And then, like a lot of people who got into the subject, it was due to, some movies and documentaries and stuff. But obviously, Godfather would be one of the like the biggest inspirations. Like the thing is, it really fascinated me when I started to go into the history of it. and the proper facts and details and what influence that side of the world had on evolution of society and modern society and corporations and stuff. It's really fascinating because here you have a bunch of oppressed people from Sicily, who created basically their own protection and organization form against foreign invaders with a huge disrespect for any type of authority, right? They get into like the Second World War, the First World War, the Second World War, and they start to migrate a lot to this new land, right, America, and they develop something that reverberates even to this day. It's fascinating, and this is how it got to me, right? Because you can obviously study, English history, you can study, I don't know, African history. It's really, really awesome and cool, and there's a lot of weight and interesting stuff to get out of. But this is more modern, right? This is more of in our times and how a group of people like can develop and evolve into this. Of course, it has its bad sides. I'm not praising it for what they did. But one thing that they did respect, and this is true, up until everybody turned on each other and became a whole mess. Between the mafia wars, no innocent civilian was hurt. They never allowed this to happen. You can look at like, Colombia cartels, Russian mobs, the Yakuzas, whatever. You can study all of them. They didn't give a fuck about innocent people, like people that didn't have anything to do with that activity. These guys were the only ones, well, they were the only ones until everything fell apart, who had like a motto: innocent bystanders do not get touched, no matter what. And I thought that was like really cool. There was something about that
code,
stuff.
yeah.
It was definitely a code up until one point. So, the man, so hip hop, Michael Jackson and, mafia, Cosa Nostra stuff, we can talk for days, man.
Yeah, it's
I recommend everybody.
time.
Yeah, I recommend everybody to look into it just a little bit to understand, at least read into how they influenced the outcome of World War II. That's pretty documented and it's pretty interesting.
And speaking, I think this is one of the coolest transitions because what I knew about the mafia was very pop culture-y stuff. Like I knew that they came from Italy and there was like something else there. And I think I spoke. I was talking
Sicily, actually.
Yeah, Sicily.
Yeah.
Whenever I think Sicily, I think
they're there.
I was talking. I have a friend there that moved. And I was like, hey man, so do you have like the mafia? Is like, oh no, they're in the south. Nobody goes in the south. I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean? That's part of the country. What does that mean you don't go into the south? My little city boy brain, right? And that's when it became, wait a minute.
Does he live in Naples?
He lives in northern Italy. What he told me?
Because Naples is like known for having when nowadays, so after the 90s, the Sicily mafia became one of the most brutal and sadistic that out of all of organizations. So they really derailed from what happened and what was constructed in New York, right? And in Naples, there's still a lot of influence over there, and they're pretty rough. They're pretty. I want to go too graphic, but yeah, I mean, I understand why people really are afraid to go into there because they're pretty fucked up. So. What is the mafia now and nowadays? There's not even a crumb compared to how it was in the Prohibition days, and up until the 1960s. After that, it kind of all came crumbling down, more or less because of the explosion of drugs and stuff.
Yeah. But that's how I got interesting, and then obviously I got to talk with Marcelian a little bit more. It's like, oh, there's some pretty cool stuff, and yeah, we'll leave you guys to research all of that because there's some interesting things.
There's a lot. And there's movies you can watch too. I mean, it's pretty good.
So we do on movie night, man.
We actually do a movie night every Thursday. Well, we'll need to get back to that because Flame got a little bit of a problem.
All right.
Don't force it.
But as a segue from a fascination about the criminal world.
Oh shit!
I know you have a story.
Yeah.
That you've been through, things that you've learned, and
yeah.
You know what I mean.
I know where you're going with this. Yeah. Well, I think I did say in one of our This Is Living videos, I'll probably gonna talk about this part of the journey. Well, yeah. So I don't know, I was probably 21, 22. I got into the thing with the study of the mafia and the hip hop world, and the crowds that I was like hanging with had a big influence on me in the sense that I wanted to become that. I wanted to become, believe it or not, the big gang boss or whatever. I had all these twisted thoughts in my mind, and I started doing some activities that are maybe considered illegal in some countries.
Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, I cannot. I mean, this is YouTube. I cannot go into details.
No, clearly.
So basically, because of what I did, so I made a lot of money due to not so legal stuff, and I really got the taste of it. It became something that I felt like, hey, I deserve this. I'm becoming this Romanian version of the Al Capones and Lucky Lucianos or whatever. But then it all went bad because the people I was doing the things with, they informed me that at some point police was taking out some places and I had to get rid of a lot of things that they were giving me. So I burned them. But after I did that, they also said, but dude, we need the money for that. And it was a huge amount of money. And I didn't know what to do because, I was still working a job. I kept appearances, for my family, for my girlfriend at the time, who eventually became my wife. I kept appearances so to not give anybody any ideas, right? But the job that I was working on didn't really pay as much as those guys wanted in a couple of weeks, right? So I had to figure out something. I told them, dude, listen, this is impossible. I cannot do this without, with all this heat and whatever. And, they pretty much put it like, listen, man, we know where your girlfriend works. We know where your mama works, where your mama lives. Just, you figure it out. And, it was a pretty heartfelt message because at that point I realized, Jesus, what have I done? Because how they do it here, like the people I was involved with, they don't go after you, right? The first thing they threat you with is like the people close to you. And my mom at the time was just, still in pain because my pop passed away in sort of the same time. And she was in super pain and grief. It's like, Jesus, what am I bringing here? More drama? Oh boy. So I did what I learned and, got hired again into that big ass corporation and started doing some other stuff that wasn't totally fine. But I had to do it because I wanted to pay that debt and just finish with all this nonsense, right? So I did that. I finished with the nonsense. I paid all the debt. It was fine, was living the happy life. And again, that thing struck me. It's like, look at this. Look at how much money you can make. Nobody can catch you. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
This is the mind of a 23, 24-year-old stupid, whatever. So I didn't stop. I wanted to get enough, dirty money to be able to open up a business, to open up a studio, a music studio, whatever, and carry on with that. And I did that, but the weirdest thing, so once I stopped, once I had enough and I set up all of my friends up, right? I mean, I had a huge group of friends, everybody was set up, everybody was perfect. Right as I stopped, right? I mean, not right. 2 weeks after I quit the job, I was all, good. I found out that there was a huge investigation going at the office I worked on, and they pretty much found out. And after that really became a spiral into a really dark place because that business investigation led to a police investigation, and then it led to a sort of I don't know how is it called in English, like the guys, DAs, district attorneys. I
don't know if we have that.
Yeah, something in those. So it went from the police prosecutors, yeah, to the the prosecutor's house and stuff, and it got that like basically fucked up all my plans, all my ambitions, everything. I was going into like this really dark place, super depressed. I was like, man, what did I did? Because I was facing prison time. I did a lot of stuff. I was charged with criminal organization. I was charged with intellectual, what is it called? IT theft. identity theft, pure theft, organizing a group of crime, whatever. So there was a lot of charges, and I was looking at a lot of years of prison. And this was when I was 25 years old, and looking towards my future. It was fucking hard, and that was around the time I started doing YouTube. WoW was a big scapegoat for me.
That actually segues into my next question, but
yeah. And it was dude, like so when they called for me to go to Bucharest, to the big
courthouse.
It wasn't the courthouse yet. It was the prosecutor stuff. And I had to I got questioned in. That was like the most horrific and hardest interview I had in my life, because you have to remember, prior to that, I felt pretty good about myself. I was like, nothing can break me. I can get out of anything. I'm agile. I'm a fish. But no, that thing broke me. And it was because it essentially ended like, listen, you fuck, for what you did, you will get a lot of years in prison. And I was looking at my future, 25 years old, right? It was daunting. Plus, I was super scared because of the other thing. They didn't know about the other thing, right? There was this, and if they go to the wire and find out about the other, it's sealed. So I had to live through this for a lot of years. And I thought, it was a moment, it was a couple of years and nothing happened. And I was like, man, they probably dropped it or something. I started believing again, started, taking care of my career, felt that I learned my lesson, easy money, stolen money, or whatever, bad thing, illegal shit. That's something you cannot do. It will fuck you up. It has bad karma. You have to work, make money out of your passion, out of your, planning. Nothing that comes like easy will be beneficial. I don't believe that. That's how I learned it. I learned the hard way. But after some years, I was doing okay in my corporate career, if you want. I was moving up the ladder. Everything was going great. And then, pow! Got the letter in the post office. Hey, big boy. And that was pretty rough. At this point, me and Flame we were working together. We were doing the YouTube thing. It was like having big plans and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Remember the times.
Yeah, and because I know you mentioned a little bit about this in the previous episode. So what happened was they decided to kick off the case again. My only luck, I would say, was that all of those charges meanwhile got corroborated into a couple of ones, because the penal code changed. And I was looking at, from the almost 15 years of prison, I was looking more at something around 3 or 4 years, right? But if it was 3, I would get suspension, right? I wouldn't have to do time. So I cannot go into too much details, guys, but around the time I started to stop it with YouTube and Flame kicked in, I was heavily into the courthouse. I had to
all the legal stuff you need to
do.
Man,
that was super hard. And I had to do something to get some money over. And I accepted to work with a buddy of mine, doing YouTube, but other stuff on YouTube, like SEO stuff and playlist and something more on the musical side. That's why I stopped. I had to go full on for that, and also be present for all the trials I have to go through, because I had like 3 or 4 trial show-ups. Initially started pretty bad. They were like really onto me, especially the guys who wanted to indict me or whatever, and it didn't look too good. I don't know, but then something happened. I don't know if it was I'm not like the most religious guy in the world, but I actually felt like man, it's either this or it will be lost forever, because if I don't get my pass on this, I'll be lost forever. I'll do jail, I'll crack, that's it. I don't know, something happened, like the third trial presence, the committee of judges or whatever accepted my guilty plea, right? My guilty agreement. And because of that, I actually didn't have to do, the time. I had to do some community work. And, that was on the 15th of December, 2018. And dude, that was the day when I just, you know that feeling when you have a lot of shit on your shoulder, right? So there's this big baggage, right? And it just, it fades away.
Yeah,
I just said, so after I got the sentence complete, I got it in the mail confirmed. I was in my room. I just started crying.
Oh,
It's
shit,
like,
man.
it was like, dude, so much. You gotta imagine, man. It's been a total of 10 years of the stress and constant thinking like, what the fuck am I gonna do? What is my mom gonna do? What is my wife gonna do? It's all those thoughts plus your future. Like, we know each other. We're both ambitious motherfuckers. If you go to an ambitious person and you tell him, listen, your freedom is threatened, that can be like, a deciding factor on, how you're going to go forward with your life.
Yeah.
Right. But fortunately, we came through with it. Fuck the criminal life and whatever. It has been a blessing, and I'm humble ever since. Like, from that point onward, I recovered my ambition and my fuel and my fire to, do things and stuff. Because prior to all of that bullshit, I was, trying to build things, record studio, I was doing concerts all over the city, parties and all of that, everything was moving. I like that shit, having projects, developing. When that shit started, I was a shallow of that. I had nothing. Like a little bum with no energy, no soul, just barely, playing WoW and doing some YouTube. Yeah, that was the thing. But
that's some trip, man. That's some
yeah, that's with the criminal. You asked about the criminal life, whatever. That was it.
That teaches people perspective, and
yeah,
I can imagine that. Like, I've never been through anything like that. I don't think I ever want to. I was a good boy growing up, so.
I was in the wrong crowds, man. You got to understand. In Romania, wasn't the most richest country in the world. I mean, my family had its good times, had its bad times too. And especially when I decided to leave at 18 years old, I decided to leave the house and just go on my own. Things were rough. There were nights when I had no fucking electricity. They would cut the electricity because I had no money to pay it. And I was too proud to ask money for my parents or whatever. I just, I wanted to prove to everybody that I can do it. But I've learned the hard way that, doing stupid shit and easy money doesn't get you anywhere. I had to learn it the hard way. Don't do it, kids. Stay in school.
Indeed. Lessons learned from MarcelianOnline, because we teach other than how to master your class here on this channel.
I never talked about this publicly, so yeah, it's it's something that I never thought I would talk about publicly. Oh. But since it's all good now.
All right, man. So I'm glad it's all good and it's all better. And you were talking about. I mean, most of the people know that. I mean, I hope so that they know that the channel has been up for quite a while, even before you and me started doing the videos. And if I recall correctly, one of the first videos, if not the first video, was a Red Paladin guide in Kata. With the old style, unscripted, no webcam, at the training dummy, good old fashioned.
But it did have some graphical assets. I remember that.
Oh yeah, it did. So it holds up. It holds up. It's in.
It has a little bit of a root of it all, right? It wasn't actually the first one. I had a couple of more, but I deleted them for some reason many years ago. I feel super bad about it because I had some cool PvP montages prior to that. They're really cool. And this was not the first channel, the first channel was called something else, and I am never going to talk about it.
Oh, come on, man. You found my shit.
Dude, but it's nothing there anymore, so there's nothing to show. Let's just say I was doing PvP videos with my Red Paladin who had a sword and a shield. And people obviously were.
Man, we don't have anything about that.
Yeah, we don't. There's nothing there anymore. I try to play it off like, listen, man, I was switching from Holy to Red, didn't have the gear. It was, that thing was, but that was super early. That was like 2010 or something. I was super big fan of Swifty and Athene and all them boys. Mercator, like I know some people. I think Dalaran mentioned Mercator too. Not a lot of people give him credit. He was really good. His rogue PvP videos were like, mwah. So yeah, that's what prompted me to play Rogue a lot too, apart from Pally. So the first video was the guide, and it I remember that back then there was no fucking research. You would do a guide based on what you played. And it was, I don't even know if WoW had existed. I know MMO Champion existed. But you played and you made a guide with what you thought was good. Luckily, most of the stuff I played and said over there was pretty good for those times. Because it was a PvP guide. And, PvP was much more popular back then. Granted, the game systems PvP-wise were better than what we had.
Better than what we have today, but today's like 2020.
Man, it's the BFA syndrome. But dude, Legion, oh my god, Shadowlands PvP is looking pretty fucking good. It almost reminds me of what we used to have in Kata and WoD and whatnot.
What, just because of the vendors?
Well, also all of the other things. You should watch Stoop's latest video. It's
I think
amazing.
I missed his last or the last
Dude,
two
the
videos.
last one. You look at and you will be happy. It's all the PvP community is happy about it. It's like finally.
It's so good. If they can balance stuff so I don't get one shot by a marksman hunter, that would be so good.
That's a different story though.
I always was curious about this because you don't talk a lot, but and feel free to don't talk if you don't feel like it. But you don't talk a lot about your dad, and I know that you went into the US and you kind of touched a little bit on it.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more into like what was the context of you going there, and how was the experience of going to the US and also at a really young age? What were you, like 8, 9?
I think it was 8 or 9. I don't remember exactly. Well, my pops used to work there because he was hired at this big tractor manufacturing company in our city, and that company had contracts with the US, and he was going constantly there to work. And in one summer, he decided to bring us all there for that whole summer. Dude, for me you can imagine being a kid in a super recent communist country. I mean, imagine we didn't even have supermarkets at the time. There was like the little shops we had in the country.
Yeah.
I never saw a supermarket in my life. So the first time I went there, I was blown away. I could not believe my eyes. I saw this I was going to Walmart, right? First time I went to Walmart, I was like, oh my God, how do they get all of these here? Who gets all of this? It was the first time I ate, all types of candy bars and little chocolates and stuff. First time I ever saw Pringles, all types of fun cola flavors. And dude, for me, it was the most mind-blowing thing I've ever saw. Again, I was 8 or 9 years old, never seeing anything like it. And we also went to Disneyland.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I never heard about
I
that
have
one.
pictures from that, dude. I mean, I was in shock, obviously, but you gotta remember, we stayed there for the whole summer in '94. So it's basically from the middle of June up until late August, right? I got used to being over there at some point, right? And it was in North Carolina, I think. Yeah, it was North Carolina where we lived. But when we went to Disney World, I mean, Disney World was not even that fascinating. Dude, we went to New York. I saw for the first time in my life at the age of 8, those big ass skyscrapers. And there's pictures of me. They pictured me like as a little kid. I was just sitting there like this. I couldn't believe it, man. It was fascinating. Yeah. My pops you asked about my pops. I don't talk much about him because, he was, because he worked so much abroad, we didn't have too much of a bigger relationship when I was a kid and adolescent. We kind of began having a relationship when I was a little bit more, older and stuff. But that came to an end really fast because, he passed away and we didn't really get to make most of it, let's say. But as an adolescent, what adolescent doesn't have issues with his parents? I had my beefs with them, especially being super outy and energetic and stuff like that. He didn't really like it. He would have liked for me to be like, hey, come help me with fixing the car and whatever. Oh, yeah. And I was like, no, fuck that. I'm going, making some rapping and doing some combinations and making some money and stuff. He didn't like that. So we had our beef, as I was going to get into that. But I know he really respected the fact that I wanted to do shit on my own. He was kind of impressed because I said, hey, listen, I don't want to be on your ass anymore. At 18 years old, fuck the college. I'll do college once I get, good, proper, stable situation for myself. And that's what I did. I didn't, he would come and see me, right? And saw how fucked up I was. I was a bum, basically. and he sometimes would give me money. I wouldn't refuse it, but I never asked. I never went and say, hey man, I need money. No. I would rather, not have any food or just, freeze during the night because there's no heat because I didn't have money to pay it, than to let them know that I need this. Because I made a promise to them. I was, listen, I want to do this on my own. I don't need your help anymore. That's it. So take from that what you will. It's pretty bad.
The way it's like, I never really vibe with that as well. I never wanted to stay on my parents' ass and have them support me. That actually brought me to a shitty place in my life. But yeah, I feel like that attitude can can get you started. I feel like that's something.
Listen, man, that can. So listen, you can go through that and succeed fast, or you can go through that and end up like me, where I didn't succeed fast. I failed fast. But what I learned, hunger is a really good teacher. Being poor, not having basic shit, is one of the best teachers you can have. Maybe it doesn't apply for everybody. But I learned in those months that if I don't do something, right, I'm probably going to die or end up, in the jail. That was it. So I got hungry, man. I got really hungry. I didn't want, lavish bullshit or whatever, but, warehouse, electricity, having food on the table, not worrying that, oh shit, they're going to cut off my electricity. Oh shit, there's no hot water. Do you know how it's like to make Scottish showers in the winter? It's, it's cool. It gets your metabolism going, but dude, at some point you feel the need for some warmth. So yeah, hunger can really teach you a lot of things, and can really bring out the some capabilities that are in you that were dormant. That's when when I got my fucking ambition, to just do whatever, set out something and do whatever and work as hard as you can to achieve it. There's no such thing as not achieving what you're setting out to. You have to put in the work and the energy and believe in it. Any successful person will tell you this, and you can study them. If you put in the work, it will happen. You will get, beaten to the ground. You will starve. You will be depressed. You keep on the fight, man, and it will happen. All successful people went through that. If you study anybody who got to a certain degree of success or, just good lifestyle, they went through shit, or they went through shit while keeping the fight, the work, the struggle. That's it, man. There's no such thing as not getting anything done. There's no such thing. It's all up to you. Put in the work.
I actually agree. And that's something that I've proven to myself as well. So I'm a strong believer that, for me, hunger was one of the best motivators.
Hell yeah.
Hungry for more, hungry for, a slice of the piece of the pie, man.
Of course, man. Of course. That's the thing. I feel a lot of people tend to give up. Like when it's becoming really tough, they tend to, hell, I gave up. I know how it feels. Maybe you need to give up to understand both sides of the story. I gave up at some point, right? And, I had to learn the lesson the hard way. It's fine. But I have proven myself that there is no such thing as easy money, illegal bullshit, just, doing some quick schemes and getting a lot of money. There's no such thing. That will never last, right? Speaking about, the mafia studies, one of the things you can learn when studying them, nobody from that life had a good ending. Nobody. There's no exception. Dead or in prison. That's it. There was, I think, one guy, that was okay.
Dead, I mean, that's the end for most. You probably mean like, I don't know.
Dead in the sense that, yeah, whacked.
Whacked.
Early. There's no, so.
I don't know what YouTube let us say here. So.
Yeah, whacked is fine, I think.
Whack.
Yeah, so
don't whack me, man.
Just there was a lot of things about the mafia guys saying, hey, the working man is a sucker. Nah, man. There's this movie, I think it's a Bronx Tale, with Robert De Niro. I think that's it. I hope I'm not mistaken. Where the mafia guy tells a little kid, listen, man, your dad is the working man, and the working man is the sucker. And Robert De Niro's character says, that's not true. they're the suckers. The working man is, the guy who should get the praises because he's putting in the effort. He's developing his craft. He's becoming a master at his craft, no matter the work. And I found that years later to be true. Getting better at your craft, becoming a master. And that reminds me, Mastery, good book. Go read it. Robert Greene, lovely.
There you go. You got it here.
Yeah.
Recommendation.
Become a master. That's the thing. In our day and age, a lot of people tend to get satisfied with minimal results just because there are results. And just look around. Then there's not a lot of people that are masters at what they're doing, right? There are people that are decent at it, but he's okay. But who can you really call? It's like, this guy is a master at that.
We tend to throw words around lately, and it's like, oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's great. But when you throw adjectives around, every now and again you tend to lose the value of things. And the mentality that I always had, and it's kind of like what I learned growing up is like, skill isn't taught. You kind of learn it and steal it. So the whole purpose of apprenticeship, at least the mentality that we had here, Romania, is like, you go work under that guy and you steal his craft, you steal his skill, so you can do it as well, right? You learn by watching, you learn by doing, and you do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it's more or less the thing. Like the message here is, if you like something, you better start becoming a master at it, because mastery, apart from being an interesting secondary stat in WoW, in real life, it can really help you, like, for what you're passionate about. Just having that goal. I'm going to become a master at editing. I'm going to become a master at playing World of Warcraft and teaching other people how to play it. Whatever, man. Just strive to become a master. There's not many masters around. And history has proven that the people who master stuff, communication, social, whatever, they tend to be okay, let's say.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. Being a jack of all trades can have its perks, but you'll never really feel that satisfaction when you're like, oh my God, I don't know if anybody can do this better than I can. That's a really cool feeling, and that's something that, people cannot take away from you. I was gonna, ask like the standard stuff, like what got you into YouTube and stuff like that, but I did remember something that I know you told me about, but you didn't really go into details, and I was always curious. So let's just start by saying, what did you study in college or university?
All right. I did communications and communications and public relations. I think it's translated. It was a private university, right? So after I got settled up and I had the money and stuff, I said, respected my plan. Go do college. It's communications and public relations. And it was one of the most interesting journeys I had, because I learned a lot about television production, protocol between, political states and language. And basically, I learned a lot of skills, believe it or not, on how to communicate verbally, visually, audibly. I learned a lot there, and it was pretty interesting. I mean, we learned stuff like ranging from how a good live broadcast should look like, and how do you arrange the official flags for a country in a conference room. So it was a super interesting university. And I'm apart from this, I'm really planning on getting into film production and film and audio production. I don't know, maybe in a couple of years. I really want to do that too. Oh, yeah.
Is that something that came from YouTube?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. I mean, I really want. This is on par with my standard of becoming a master. So right. I need to go through that and make sure I go get all of the information that I can. I do a lot of self-study, obviously, but at some point you need. This is how I like. I want to First of all, I want to know the history, how it all began, the progression, the evolution, right? Learn new techniques, learn equipment, learn, framing, positioning, lighting. Oh man, there's a bunch of stuff. But, there's a lot of knowledge in the university for that stuff. Well, that's about the college years, more or less.
I remember you talking at one point that you studied journalism. And I find that interesting.
Yeah, that was also in the the university I was in, communications and public relations.
I find that fascinating because I think you're the only person that I know that studied journalism. I don't know where all of them are, man, but I just cannot see any.
There's a lot of them, man, but no, it wasn't like so it wasn't because there's a university dedicated to that, right? In this we had a subsection that you can really go to, and we had a couple of like exams on it and whatever. It was more in the sense more tangential with communication, right? And journalism in the sense that, okay, how do you conduct an interview? That was one thing. How can you frame a documentary? How can you commentate? How can you deliver commentary over a documentary or over footage? So it was journalism in that sense, but it wasn't the whole thing, the evolve. It was just this subsection of it, which had a lot to do with the communications and public relations of it, because that was like the main gist of the university. But it was really cool. So what I learned over there, it helped me a lot in in editing and in making thumbnails, and I learned a lot about colorization, and there's huge amounts of information useful that you can use if you want to become a master.
That is the path to go through. Like, listen, man, you went through some shit. You've done some dumb shit, and you've come on top of it, and you're really looking towards the future.
Oh hell yeah,
and what you can master. So I really wanted to. Usually we try to have this talk with a lot of our guests, but maybe it's not as prevalent, but because it's actually a really big factor in our lives. But I do want to say, it's like, in terms of personal development, first of all, because I really do want to talk a little bit about this. Let's just get it out of the way. If anybody watching or listening, it would be interested, being a better you. You want to be a better you, whatever that is, whatever you're trying to achieve. You're trying to be, I don't know, have better social skills. Maybe you want to follow a career and you want to be successful at it. Maybe you just want to be like a better person. Like, considering that you had like an up and down journey, let's say, and you went from the bottom of the barrel. I would like to, that's what I call it, is when you hit the bottom of the barrel, it's like, okay, no more of this. Let's fucking do what needs to be done. Yeah. Like, what would you suggest? What would you recommend people do? Like, can you avoid that bottom of the barrel? Because for me, however much I try to, find motivation and try to push myself and try to develop myself, until I hit that bottom of the barrel, my ass would not move. So that's a conversation that I had as well with my sister. But I was really curious what you thought about it. And can people avoid that bottom of the barrel? Because that can be the kick in the butt that either you need or that you will get if, unavoidably if you don't, get your shit right.
Well, it depends, man. I think for some people that bottom is absolutely necessary. I think it was for you. I think it definitely was for me. On the other hand, not everybody can cope with that. I know people that could really not take that shit. Being at that, super dark down, bottom of the barrel. Okay, it's a good metaphor. The way that shit develops in your life, that's how. So we adapt. It really depends on how stuff develops. Probably I could have taken. I don't know what effect that had on me long term. I really don't know, health wise or whatever. I'm not feeling anything right now, but who knows? Bottom of the barrel type stuff is really good, at least from your experience and mine. People that are going towards that, I don't think they should avoid it, because what's the point? I mean, you have to learn your lesson somehow. Yeah. But on the other side of the coin, there are people who are just starting out. I'm pretty sure we have in our community folks that are maybe 20 years old. It's not required, man. I mean, you can definitely go follow your dreams and go to your path without hitting any fucking bottom of the barrel. It's your decision, it's your actions that will either lead to it or not. Actively avoiding it, I don't think it's healthy either, because you kind of become paranoid if you go that route. That, oh, I don't want to fall. Don't be that. Okay, just go with the flow. And if you hit it, just it's hard to think like this when you're there in that that zone, that funk, as Stoops always said it. You cannot really think like this when you're there. Just if you get there, one thought is that no matter what happens, that situation, that hunger, that lack of something will really teach you and will really bring out some skills or at least some mental strengths that you'll be able to use to get out of it and evolve past it.
If you would give anybody an advice to not necessarily actively avoid it, but to not have it be the necessary kick in the butt that they need to, move towards their goal. Because obviously there's the there's the standards like, oh, you better read, or you better listen to that guy, or you better just do it. Like, what would be like your advice for people to, not find themselves in that situation but still succeed?
So listen, man, there's been a couple of years since I stopped giving people advice on anything. People need to find out on their own what they need to do. I can talk about my experiences. I can talk about books I've read, people I've listened to, podcasts I listened to.
What helped you then?
Okay, it was a book. There's a lot of things, right? The first book that actually motivated me, to get out of my ass and understand a little bit better. Hope I'm translating this right. Is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I recommend this book to a lot of people.
Oh shit!
Yeah, mine is also borrowed to somebody who never gave it back. If you watch this or listen to this, give that shit back. It's an interesting story. I think I read it like 12 years ago. That was one thing. I had a couple of friends also. It's really important to actually be mindful of the people you decide to hang out with and, be part of a community or whatever, because that can have a huge influence on you too. I've luckily had some people in my life that didn't tell me anything, because I'm not that type of guy. You probably know I'm not really taking much advice. But I kind of take my lessons through other people's actions, if you like. And I don't feel comfortable anymore giving people advices. I just think that's a selfish way to help out people. People either are willing to listen to your experience and take their lessons from that, or they go on their own. You cannot apply something that happened to you to anybody else, I think you can get better at anything if you decide to study a bit more. Internet is an option. I prefer books. It's I love the smell of paper, and that feeling.
Ink and all that.
Yeah, that's cool. Podcasts also can be really good, especially nowadays, since it's a huge boom and there's a lot of domains in that. But whatever gets you going on research and stuff, you gotta understand, man. There's a lot of big billion-dollar business on self-development. There's a lot of bullshit out there. Okay, people sell, become a better version of yourself. Become a rich person in 10 days or whatever.
Listen to the 10 tapes of being a better you.
Yeah. There's a lot of bullshit out there too in this regard. So I'd say, do a little bit of research, and at least the people you want to read about, or you want to read their books or listen to their podcast, make a little bit of background research, see what they did. For me, it's really important to, if I do decide to read somebody's stories or listen to somebody, I want to understand the background. Okay, what the fuck you do? This is how I did like my whole life. The hip hop thing, I studied the background. The mafia thing, studied the background. The editing, YouTube shit, studied the background. And you should know, this is how I work. But that
yeah, that definitely works for you. Might not work for everybody.
It cannot be replicated to everybody, but it works for me. Maybe it can work for you.
Yeah, everybody. That's the situation that I found myself in. So it's definitely advice doesn't work for everybody, because we're all different, and I think we just need to realize and accept that. But one thing that I feel like it's universal is what you said before, is that success comes by not giving up, because you keep putting in the work.
Hell yeah.
And that work transforms into something eventually. It's like it doesn't make sense for it not to. You're making something that's after a specific number of hours. That something will turn into other things. So it's a little bit of and for anybody who is interested, the book is Discovery. No, what is it? The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. Sharma.
He also has a YouTube channel. Yeah.
So originally published in 1996.
Yeah, that was I read it in 2008, but that was the first thing. You can evolve. So when it comes to books, this was the first time that opened up my eyes. But after that became a lot of others that are much more evolved and much more interesting and much more complete. I would say that's a beginning thing. It marked me a lot. It changed my life, that book, basically. But there's a lot of other. I mentioned Robert Greene, Mastery. I really like Robert Greene in terms of him being an author for interesting books. The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, and that's a controversial book because if you look on how he looks, not judging anything, but if you see the guy and if you read The Art of Seduction, it's interesting nevertheless. What else? Obviously, Jordan Peterson, which you told me about first off. You told me first about him, 12 rules for life. I didn't agree 100% with everything that was in there, but man, there's some eye-opening stuff. It really helped out. But of course, I read a lot of like speciality stuff, like a lot of mob books and history books, a lot of creative media books, digital marketing and all of that. I just love to get in useful information or information that I feel attracted to. I'm not going to read a book just because it's super popular or it just says on the cover, become a better YouTuber. What the fuck is that?
This is what you need title on the cover.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of it. But again, I feel like people during our day and age don't really have the patience anymore to sit down and read or even listen to podcasts or whatever. The attention span on the internet nowadays is like super, super short, and we should know because we see some analytics.
We have analytics to prove that.
I just feel I'm circling back to this, man. The world is becoming really void of masters, and we need more masters in different fields, I feel. So if you really like something, you enjoy it, try to become a master at it. It's the best thing in the world. That's it.
Yeah, do it. Well, dude, this has been really, really interesting, and I hope it was interesting for a lot of the listeners and watchers on YouTube.
You know nothing.
Yeah, this is what I want to say is like, how much of it did you guys know about this? Because when we do stream, you can catch a stream as well. Stream World of Warcraft on twitch.tv/MarcelianOnline with the link is down below.
Click it.
I did before the DMCA things kicked in. I did listen to a lot of hip hop because I didn't know I liked hip hop until I actually started to listen to it a little bit more, and all of that came from Marcelian. So all the good stuff. I
want to add to this. So people who start listening to hip hop, they usually like vibe with the rhythm was pretty nice, la la. They don't listen to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Once I told him, listen carefully to what he says here. He was blown away because there's some MCs out there who can really fuck your mind up.
The poetry, the intellectual side of
yeah, man, that's what
rapping.
it is.
That's what actually pulled me in. Like the rhythm is nice, and some beats are really cool. They just create a really good mood and a really good headspace to be in.
Yeah.
But for me, like I actually want to understand what's going on, and they're just stories, and that's amazing because I'm a sucker for stories.
Yeah, I was happy you were open to it. It was like.
Hey man,
this sounds good, man. Shit.
I'm open to a lot of things. I'm just not putting in my Tinder profile. That's fine. But yeah, the thing is, because a lot of people thought it's like, man, you have a really good playlist. Like, man, it's not my playlist. Like Marcelian, wait, Marcelian, what hip hop, Marcelian, what? So I hope that you guys have learned a thing or two more about the man himself and probably why he has that freaking gray hair. Now you know.
That's genetic, man. That's genetic.
maybe it's genetic.
That's genetic. My pops had it at 30 years old. I have it too. Like my first gray hair was in 8th grade, and then it just started evolving. It wasn't as prominent as it is now, but it was there. So
well,
It did affect. I won't deny it. It did affect me a lot.
How do you feel about talking about all those things, man?
It feels good, man. It felt like a therapy session, you know, like I was with my therapist basically, because we touched on this.
So somebody said that before in a previous
yeah,
episode.
Stu said it right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Fucking
So, MarcelianOnline is the therapy that
you need therapy. Come on our podcast, dude.
but it was a blast, man, and it was really fun,
Thank
and
you.
it was really fun to hearing you talk about all that kind of stuff, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as well.
Hope so.
This essentially concludes the season for our Overcast, and we're gonna kick it off again in mid-January.
Summer in January. Yeah, we just need to get everything set up properly, you know, have everybody on board.
Yeah.
But this is the season finale. We have 15 episodes. You can now check the playlist. They're all there. They're also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, on Apple, iTunes, whatever. You can find us everywhere. And I recommend you listen to all of these podcasts because, yeah, we talk a little bit about WoW, but usually we talk about experiences, you know, the journeys of people and stuff. It's really nice.
Some interesting people right now because I think the more I go through this, the more I feel like it's true. People are used to the definitions of normal and, you know, ordinary, and, you know, let's just all have this label so that we know what to do in society. Yeah. But people are very different, and people live different lives. And I think one of the issues that we might have as a society is that we close our eyes off to like what other people go through and not try to realize the kind of world that we live in and look around. So we've had some really interesting guests who live some very interesting and but most importantly different lives than what we live. It's like, oh my God, is that stuff really going on? It's like, holy shit, man, good for you.
It was
more party. So that's the kind of vibe that we want to get to. That's the kind of, you know, eye-opening episodes that we're kind of, you know, want to deliver to you guys, and hope that you know, it makes you understand. It's like, wow, this world is a lot bigger than I thought.
Hell yeah. It's been one of our favorite things to do since we started doing the podcast. We've learned a lot. We got inspired a lot by, you know, a lot of the stories and the experiences. And we truly, wholeheartedly, sincerely hope you do too. If you can get something out of all these podcasts and learn something, or, you know, get some sort of inspiration or whatever, we're super happy. It's, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's not about the subscribers and views. It's about the amount of people that actually do watch this or listen, get something out of it. If you do, that's the best.
Yeah, and you can also let us know down in the comments, because it's interesting to know what people learn and what people found you know, inspiring. Like Marcelian said, inspiring, because we talk a lot about different things, words, and so we're actually curious, like, what actually stuck to you? What was the most interesting part that you know?
Let us know.
But that's it for today's episode, everybody. You'll know where to catch us. We have our links down below. And obviously we do a lot of other stuff than just the podcast. If you're just here, if you're just listening on Spotify or other platforms,
check the YouTube.
We have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/MarcelianOnline, where we play WoW and we do WoW videos and do other kind of cool stuff, even stream all of that good jazz. We also like to keep like a cool vibe, so maybe you'll have fun if you tune in and see what's going on.
All right, that's a big outro, man. Let's just end it here. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Still I play WoW. Still I play WoW.